Holy smokes.
The great fundamental issue now before our people can be taken. It is, are the American people fit to govern themselves, to rule themselves, to control themselves? I believe they are. My opponents do not. I believe in the right of the people to rule. I believe that the majority of the plain people of the United States will, day in and day out, make fewer mistakes in governing themselves than any smaller class or body of men, no matter what their training, will make in trying to govern. I believe again that the American people are as a whole capable of self-control and of learning by their mistakes. Our opponents pay lip loyalty to this doctrine, but they show their real beliefs by the way in which they champion every device to make the nominal rule of the people a sham. I am not leading this fight as a matter of aesthetic pleasure. I am leading because somebody must lead, or else the fight would not be made at all.
If you root it out and study the nature of the problem in rural situation, in agricultural communities, the problem is structural. It's lack of access to resources, it's lack of access to land, it's inequitable sharing of wealth, it's inequitable sharing, it's inequitable sharing, it's inequitable sharing, it's inequitable sharing.
Really makes you appreciate bacteria. You usually think of bacteria as things that are going to hurt you. You don't think about the bacteria that help you just to live.
Exactly. That's definitely the public perception, and you see there are so many commercials on television now for antibacterial products, and I think the assumption is that they're all bad, but most of the bacteria that we come into contact with on a daily basis are definitely the good ones.
You mean the bacteria are affecting our genes?
Yes.
That's astounding.
Most definitely.
What else are they doing?
Let's re-examine the principles behind the concept of magnutrition and begin to apply them in our everyday reasoning. They go something, sort of, kind of like this. Magnetotactic bacteria are found in the oceans and ponds on Earth. They create a chain of magnetite within their body from absorbing iron in their environment, and they're found migrating north or south. Organelles within our cells have the same properties as magnetotactic bacteria. They use the Earth's magnetic field. We would die without a magnetic field.
All molecules are in constant motion unless at absolute zero. The motion is random, with molecules moving in straight lines until they encounter other molecules. The net result of this process is diffusion. This membrane separates pure water on the left from a solution of sucrose and water on the right. The membrane is semi-permeable. Water can cross it, but sucrose is too large for the membrane's pores. Water molecules will move from a solution with a lower concentration of solutes to one with a higher concentration of solutes. A cell may need to have a substance cross the plasma membrane against its concentration gradient. This requires energy and is accomplished by active transport. The sodium-potassium pump is an example of this process. A large protein in the plasma membrane provides the doorway through which sodium and potassium ions can move. ATP is the energy source. Sodium inside the cell binds to the protein. The addition of a phosphate group from ATP changes the shape of the protein, and the sodium is expelled. Now potassium binds to the protein. The phosphate is released, and as the protein returns to its former shape, potassium is moved into the cell. Sodium can once again bind to the protein, and the process repeats as long as there is a supply of ATP. This is a cell that secretes large molecules that are unable to pass through the lipid bilayer of the plasma membrane. They leave the cell instead by a process known as exocytosis. After production in a system of membranes called the endoplasmic reticulum, the molecules are packaged in a small sac of membrane called a vesicle. The vesicle moves to a stack of membranes called the Golgi apparatus. Their membranes merge, and the vesicle releases its contents for modification. As the molecules leave the Golgi apparatus, they are again packaged in a vesicle, which moves to the plasma membrane. As membranes merge again, the contents leave the cell without actually crossing the plasma membrane. This process can also occur in reverse, allowing large molecules to enter a cell. This is termed endocytosis.
Organelles within our body have the same properties as magnetotactic bacteria do. They live and die within our cells, leaving behind magnetite particles. The nucleus within the cell is formed from the magnetite particles as it goes through nuclear rotation around the cell walls. A lack of or poorly formed magnetite within this migrating organelle causes the nucleus to deteriorate. With osteoporosis, all tissues in the body deteriorate. The cellular walls, nuclear envelopes, and bones. Due to blood vessels deteriorating, a stroke occurs. Cancer is mainly caused by the deterioration of nuclear envelopes which no longer can protect the DNA, and cancer is mainly prevented by having strong nuclear envelopes.
DNA is composed of two strands of nucleotides wound around one another in a double helix. The outer longitudinal structure consists of alternating sugars and phosphate groups. Paired nitrogenous bases are in the interior of the molecule. DNA molecules are extremely long, thin, and delicate. They are packaged so that they can fit in the nucleus and be protected from damage. DNA is attracted to clusters of histone proteins. A portion of the DNA wraps around a cluster twice. This occurs at regular intervals along the molecule. This shortens the DNA so it can fit within the nucleus. The chromosomes are still fairly long, and their movement during cell division is facilitated by condensation. Following replication, they loop and fold back on themselves, forming tight packages of DNA and histone. This shortens and thickens the chromosomes, so they are visible under a microscope at the beginning of prophase.
Cancer, menopause, and crib death are the effects of varying degrees of osteoporosis. And osteoporosis is mainly caused due to a lack of circulation within the cells, as organelles migrate magnetically within the cells. Materials are moved about within the cell. This facilitates the duplication of products within the cells before the next cell division can occur. A good rate of movement in the magnetic field facilitates production within the cells on time. Older people move less in the Earth's magnetic field. Therefore, osteoporosis shows its effects. Younger people move more.
Mitosis is the process by which the contents of the eukaryotic nucleus are separated into two genetically identical packages. Chromosomes replicate prior to the beginning of mitosis. As mitosis begins, they condense and become visible under a light microscope. They appear as sister chromatids joined at the centromere. Mitosis is divided into 4 stages. During prophase, the nuclear envelope disintegrates and a spindle of microtubules forms. Centrioles may help organize the spindle, as in this animal cell. The chromosomes begin to move toward the midplane of the spindle. When they are on the midplane, with centromeres attached to spindle fibers, the second stage, metaphase, has been reached. Metaphase yields to anaphase as the centromeres separate, and the sister chromatids, now termed chromosomes, are pulled toward opposite poles of the spindle. During the final stage, telophase, a nuclear envelope forms around each set of chromosomes. The spindle disappears, and the chromosomes, decondense. The result is two nuclei, each with an identical set of chromosomes.
Okay, engine stop. Copy you down, Eagle. Listen, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Roger, Twing. I'm going to step off the limb now. That's one small step for man, one giant leap